Everyone, and I would like to thank all of you for participating in this press conference. I would like to introduce the new coach, which is Tony Pulis.
Good to see you. Good to see you back in the game again after, what is it, nearly 18 months. What was it about this opportunity that brought you back?
I think it was the chat. Obviously, the club is a massive club. It's one of those clubs that that you say sleeping giant, and it's been a long time since the club really has taken off and pushed off. And then in a precarious position, I think if you look at the reign of the chairman, who's put a lot of money into this football club. The first year get into a playoff final, second year then get into a semi-final, and the last 2 years a big drop off. It's been, from the outside, interesting to see what has taken place and what hasn't taken place. And as a manager and a coach for a long time, I think there are certain elements to clubs that have been successful and have not been successful. And so it's nice to walk in, Rich, and have a look, and it's my first day, so I can't comment too much, but look around and see what needs to happen, what needs to take place for the club to push on for the benefit of the chairman. And as I say, I've worked for lots of decent people in my life, maybe one or two that I've not worked with. But if you have a look at the money, the finance that this man has put into this football club, it's an enormous amount of money. And, the return should have been better. So it's my chance, my opportunity to step in, to look at the football club, to see what needs to be done, and to be very, very honest with him as well. I don't want to be a person that speaks to him just saying what the chairman would like or other people would like to hear. I really want to be totally committed to being as truthful and as honest, and to tell him. My biggest disappointment is the chairman is away and he's not in England at the moment. And I think I spoke to him the other day and said it'd be lovely to sit down and have dinner with him, and really talk man to man on the basis of which is the best way of getting this team, getting the club to push forward again.
If, as you say, you want to be that manager that's going to be really honest with him, it's only 10 days ago, Tony, since on a conference call, Mr. Champsiri said the manager knows what our goals are at this club. He's made no secret of it before, that he sees Sheffield Wednesday as a club that should be in the Premier League. So what do you say to him when you assess this squad and look at what you've got now?
Yeah, there's another 23 clubs in this league all saying the same, that they want to be in the Premiership. So the Championship is a very competitive league, and it's different this year, obviously, with the amount of games that are being pushed into such a short period of time. The preparation and the organisation that needs to be taking place now, and the way that clubs are going to have to look after their players is a massive part. But I think that the chairman is a very positive man, and expects people to be positive around him, and I will be as honest as I possibly can, and that will remain solid all the way through. Now, whether the chairman likes what I say at times or doesn't, that's something that me and him will have to sort out. But I won't be dishonest with him. I'll tell you that now. I will tell him the truth. Don't ask me about it yet. I've only had my first day meeting people. There's a really good atmosphere around the football club. There's nice people around the football club. But we want to win games, Richard. That's the important thing, is trying to get a team together that is a team, that plays as a team, and gets the results for this football club. You've
been here before, Tony. 11 points as we sit here talking now after 11 games between where Wednesday are and the top 6. Is it your feeling that we're at a stage of the season where that's not an insurmountable gap at this point?
Well, I think the biggest disappointment at the moment coming in is just to see the players that we've got injured. we've got very, very important players injured, and we picked up another 2 injuries this week. So that sets the whole thing back a little bit. Having said that, the players who trained today and the players who worked today trained really hard. Like I say, their commitment to what we were trying to do was first class. I suppose the assessment, my assessment on the team and the squad and everything else, you've got to give me a bit of time, Rich. I'm not going to be able to do that after just one day.
I should say, I think it's 13 points, not 11. So just a couple more points to tack on there, Tony. But look, you know the history of this football club. Sheffield Wednesday, one of the founding members of the Football League. A loyal, big fan base. What's your message to them? Because it's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you look at the football club, like I say, and you look at it in respect of the enormous support they can get, the enormous following they could get. And I you know, no disrespect to Sheffield United, but I think if you got this club into the Premiership, it would just, it would be the biggest club in Sheffield. And at the moment we're not, because Sheffield United are, and what Chris has done over what has he been there, 5-6 years. There's been 5 or 6 years stability there. And they've reaped the reward of the stability of that Chris has brought them. My biggest aim, my biggest thought at this present moment is just assessing everything, and I mean everything. I've been around and had meetings with all the different people at the football club who work closely around the first team, just to find out their views, what they think is needed to improve it, what they think they can achieve themselves without, any, help from myself, and get into a stage where I really get a good feel for it.
Just a final question from me, if I can, Tony. The transfer window is only a month or so away. I know at Middlesbrough last time you had to work within a budget and a fairly tight regime. Have you had any conversations with Mr. Chansiri? If you wanted to make changes and bring players in this time, would that be possible?
No, what I want to do, and obviously that we can't do anything until the window opens. I want to work extremely hard on getting to know the players, getting to know the staff, and seeing what we can achieve with what we've got, and having a good view and overview of everything connected to the team. On the outside, if you look outside and not inside, there's certain things that I've already mentioned to the chairman. I think there's areas that are a little bit weak, but who knows? We could have a situation where the people in those areas and the weakness that I think is there, they could shove it down my throat, and it could be a strength of the team. That's the problem, Richard. So let's wait and see. I've got like I say, 8 weeks until Christmas or whatever time, to really, really work at everything at this football club and find out how it ticks, and then go back to the chairman and be really honest and forthright with him.
Well, it's good to see you, Tony. Good to have you back in the game, and wish you the best of luck.
Cheers, Richard.
Hi, Tony. This is Rob from BBC Yorkshire here. Welcome to Sheffield.
Rob.
Hello. You've been a manager for nearly 30 years. You've achieved a lot in your career. What drives you to start a new challenge, and this one at Sheffield Wednesday in particular?
As I've said, if you have a look at the chairman's starting position, and the fact that the club were so close in the first 2 years of achieving what the goal is at this football club, to get back into the Premiership, and then for it to have dropped off, I'm it's almost like a sickly thing, really. But I'm looking at it and thinking, what has gone wrong? Why has that happened? And to get in and look, like, as I've just said, there's certain things I think that you can go into football clubs, successful football clubs, and say that's in place, this is in place, that's in place. And whether all everybody's pointing to that one point, that star above, and pulling in the same direction, whether it's the quality of the team, whether it's the quality of the work that the team is doing, whether it's you know, everything that surrounds a team. You will find definitely common denominators why clubs do well and why clubs don't do so well. So it was just it's a big club, and it was just a challenge, you know, that I thought I'd enjoy.
What can the fans expect from a Tony Pulis-led team?
I don't listen. I spoke to the lads today, and you get pigeonholed at times. When I was at Stoke, we had Crouchy, Kenwyn Jones, Sidibe, two very quick players in Etherington and Pennant, and you know the fact that we played to those strengths, got the ball forward, got it wide, got lots of crosses in the box, and played very direct football, which suited that team. And then you go to West Brom, and I had Bobby Brown, lad they signed from Europe, Eastern Europe, I think Bobby came from. And, you know, the two little forwards, we couldn't play that way. So we played through the pitch quickly, but smaller passes. You know, I had Brunt, Morrison, Gardner, people like that who were good footballers, but we still played the way I like playing, and that is playing through the pitch when you get the opportunity. And that's what we'll try and do. Yeah, I'll find or I'll look to find a way that suits the team, and try and play to that. I expect the players to be committed. I expect the players to work as hard as they possibly can. We will set our stall out as coaches and a manager to put a system in place that suits the lads who are at this football club at this present moment.
How do you go about setting a culture as a manager, and what will you be asking of the players as a priority?
Well, the priority is to try and win some games. I think that's important. I think the next priority is to make sure we don't get any more injuries. I think the injury situation at the football club is very concerning, very worrying for me, because I think if you're missing 4 or 5 players, very good players, then it does weaken your team. I don't care who's managing your football club or who's in charge, and unfortunately we're going to have to put up with that for a bit. But it's putting in place basic principles, you know, good organisation, good discipline, respect, and plenty of honesty, and that's what we want. And it's a working class town. It's an area that is very similar to where I was brought up. You know, they'll most probably say it the way they see it, and there'll be no messing around, and it won't be no sugarcoating going on. And I enjoy that. You know, I think that's the way British people really are. You know, they say it the way they see it, and it'd be nice to get the club or to turn the thing round and get the club pointed in the right direction, and with a little bit of good fortune, we can do that and really have a really good crack. I think it's going to be difficult at the beginning because of the injuries, but I think if we were starting now, with everybody fit, you know, I'd be pretty confident that we could get some good results.
Have you had a chat with your old friend Gary Megson, who's obviously got a great connection with this club? And if so, what's he had to say? Oh,
I've got a lot of friends who are Sheffield Wednesday supporters. I spoke to Meggie a couple of times. Obviously, I played for Don, his dad, who was a legend at this football club when I was at Bristol Rovers. So Don gave me my debut as well in the Bristol Derby. And I've got so much respect for Don, never mind Gary. But yeah, Gary's a great lad. I've got a lot of time for him. Good man, good person. And it's sad to see him out of football, really. He's one of those people that you would have expected to have been around football a lot longer. But maybe his bluntness and his honesty and his directness has cost him a little bit. But yeah, he's fine. He's happy in what he's doing, and he's happy where he is, and he's desperately keen for this football club to get back on the rails and get moving.
It was noticeable today that Kieran Westwood was back in training with the first team. What has your message been to him? Is it essentially a clean slate for everybody?
No disrespect to anybody at the football club or the 2 young goalkeepers who are in and have done really well. Personally, I think the kid is one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship. And if he was available in the position we are now, I'd most probably be looking to pick him and looking for him to be playing. Can I be any more honest than that?
And do you see, finally, this is a long-term project? Do you come here with a vision that, you know, this is you've said it already, it's a club with a lot of potential. Do you view this as a long-term role?
Well, I think stability today is so important. Yet is, you know, with social media and everything that goes around and floats around, I think it's very difficult to get it. I think the greatest thing, or my biggest challenge, is to convince the chairman that, you know, that we can be friends and we can trust each other, and that's what I think the chairman needs as much as anything else. I think he needs someone with him that he trusts and will back, and I will do my damnedest to try and be, you know, as honest as I possibly can. To be as helpful as I possibly can, and to back a man who's put a lot of money into this football club. And I don't care what anybody says. You know, the amount of money that the chairman has put in, you know, the respect that he should have is enormous. Now, whether there's been people here, as I've said before, and this does happen, and I know it happens, who will say things just because he's the chairman. And are frightened to say other things because he's the chairman. I don't know. What I do know is that I am where I am, and I've had really good relationships with certain chairmen, and I've had not very good relationship with certain chairmen, and it's been really on the basis of those different things I've just talked about. And I just hope I can get a real friendship with the chairman. That's important to me.
Tony, appreciate your time and best of luck. Trevor, if it's okay, if I could just ask one question of the chairman, as you mentioned. Mr. Chansiri, if you can hear me, can you tell us just a bit about the decision to make a change at manager, the process of appointing Tony, and why Tony was the right man for you?
I think he has experience, the same like Steve Bush or whoever, like almost 30 years. And I think he the right one at the moment. Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about the process? I mean, it's very quick. Was it always the plan to, you know, for this to be a quick appointment within the week?
Actually, I know him before. Yeah, I know Pulis before. We ever talk before, and I also think he's a good coach. But this time, I think is the right time to get him here.
And do you like that idea that he wants to build a relationship with you? He's going to be honest with you as well. Is that something that appeals to you as a chairman?
No, that's normal. All the coach in the past, I always say, okay, we're gonna talk, because my personal, I always talk straightforward. So I also like all the coach straightforward with me, right? I don't want to hear positive. I always like to hear negative thing, so we can fix, we can how to say, we can make it better, right? Because if I always say to everyone, if it's good, even 1% is mean good, but if it's not good, we don't know we can handle or not. That is the big point. I always say whatever we need to talk straightforward, because all the course you must be my right hand, and you need to be have a good relationship with me. Whatever we need to talk with the straightforward. Yeah, that's what I also tell Pulis also. Whatever happen, we talk. Okay, we need to talk, and we find out what we can do for the best for the club. So that is normal. It's not special, because every coach the same. even sometimes my people told the fans say, oh, the coach always say yes with me, but it's not true. We always talk together. We have some debate together because we talk what gonna be the best for the club, and we exchange the idea, whatever. Yeah. And my personality, I always like to talk straightforward, and I want to hear everything, the truth, not what you want to please me. I don't like that. Mm.
Thank you, Mr. Chansiri. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Tony.
Hi, Tony. It's Chris Stokes here from ITV Yorkshire. Hope you're well.
Yes.
Synonymous back in the day with playing at the top level, and for someone to get them back there, it would be a real achievement, wouldn't it? And
Yeah, very much so. I think the big disappointment, and this is, you know, I've not been involved because of COVID or because of the COVID situation. It's going to be interesting to see how things, especially match days, are different. But one thing I will say is that it'll be a massive disappointment for me that the fans are not there. And I've told, you know, my family, and I've got some grandchildren, I've got 7 grandchildren as well, that the club supporters are just absolutely out of this world. They're fantastic. And, you know, I've not managed the football club, and I've managed against the football club at different venues. And wherever we've played them, there's always been a massive travelling support. And the travelling support, whether they've been winning or losing, have always struck me as very, very loyal supporters, very, very committed supporters. So, you know, like I say, it'd be lovely. You know, the fella across the road has done an absolute fabulous job. He's a friend of mine. I've got great respect for him. I'd love to place this club in a similar position. And wouldn't it be lovely to have derby matches with both clubs in the Premier League? It'd be just absolutely, you know, if I did that, then, you know, I'd say to the chairman, thanks very much.
do you see any similarities between this job and any others you've taken in the past?
Stoke really, when I first went to Stoke was with the Icelandic owners. I think there was very similarities in the way the Icelandic people were. They were really, really nice people. And then obviously I took over when I think they were third from bottom of the championship. Then, you know, they were getting crowds of 9,000 people. And over a period of time, you know, we managed to. Peter took over, who you know, is just a wonderful, wonderful man. And I talk about the relationship I want with my chairman here. I had that relationship with Peter Coates. He's just a wonderful man. You know, Peter, we could argue, and the next day we'd be absolutely fine with one another. We'd go out and have dinner together. We'd argue over certain points. And he would put me in my place. You know, I had so much respect for him that, you know, I accepted that. But together, the Coates family, and I played a little bit of a part in it. You know, we got to the Premiership, we got to a cup final, to late stages in the UEFA Cup, built a brand new training ground. You know, we did everything that possible for that football club because we were together, and that's what we need to be at Sheffield Wednesday. I think everybody hopefully will buy into it. They'll understand how difficult it could be over the next few weeks with the injuries we've got. But from that point onwards, I think, you know, they're looking at the group. You know, if we need one or two, then we'll do our damnedest to try and get the right ones in, and have a real good push then. You know, to get up the league as quickly as we possibly can.
Sorry, Tony. Finally, from me, you mentioned excitement. What is it that excites you about this project, this job?
Just because of the size of the club, and I think the fact that to try and get it up above Sheffield United would be absolutely terrific. And for me to, like I say, you know, the success they've had, to spin it round and for us to get that sort of success, and you know, it's a challenge. You know, there's no way I was going to come out of my house if it wasn't going to be a big challenge, and this is an enormous challenge, and something that you know, fingers crossed, you get enough time to to bed down what you think is needed and necessary to take the club forward. And that's always, and unfortunately with social media and the pressures that you put under from outside noise, that time sometimes is not given you. And I understand that, I've been in it a long time.
Well, good luck with it, Tony. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Top man.
Hi, Tony. This is Mike McCarthy at BBC Radio Sheffield. Good to speak to you.
Mike.
You've had your first day training. One of the things I wanted to ask was, when you're assessing a squad for a first time, what do you look for? What do you want to see?
Just the balance of the team, the balance of the squad. It's a bit overweighted in certain areas and not strong enough in other areas, was my first opinion outside. Obviously now stepping into the football club, I'll have time now to assess it properly and, work as hard as I can to get a system in place that will suit the players, that will help us win games. They were very, very good this morning. They worked very, very hard, the players. There seemed to be a really good spirit around the place. The people around the place are nice people. Everybody wants this football club to push forward. Everybody wants it to be successful. So, it's just having the time to place everything in the right order and right positions, to take the place where we want to get.
Yeah, in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of Sheffield Wednesday right now, is just the 6 goals scored so far this season. Would it be fair to say that's the area that you're looking to improve quickest? Listen,
Mike, it's important that everything that we do from now on benefits the football club. I work, like I said, I worked today. Jordan was out there, Josh was out there. They were the only 2 forwards that we had to work with. Obviously, people think Patterson is a forward. I'm not so sure he is the forward that everybody thought he was going to be. But he's certainly playing for Scotland. They've just qualified, so he's a good player. So it's finding out what he's about, where his best position is. Again, from a person outside the football club who haven't worked with them, it's easy for me to say things. When you get in, sometimes, Mike, you get a different feel for it.
I mean, it's a squad that in the past has had a label of mental fragility brought at it. Is that something that you want to get to the root cause of and work out why that is the case?
It's a big, Mike. It's a big club with expectations, and that the supporters expect. And as I've said before, it's a big city. It's a working class city. Expecting that the players have got to live with that. The chairman's bought this football club because it's a big club. The chairman's invested a lot of money in because he sees it as a club that could get in the Premiership. So, we need to do that. We need to work as hard as we possibly can to try and get the team at a level that, we can honestly say we're going to compete and try and get in there. How long that will take, Mike, I don't know.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that. You mentioned the sort of the things that come from social media and that sort of side of things. Given the constraints that everyone is working under in football right now, how realistic is it to turn things around quickly?
Well, we've got to be positive and make sure the players understand what their jobs are and they go out and they give everything. We want them to be committed. We want them to be honest, and we want them to play to the best of their ability. And to try and get them to do that within a team structure that then enables you to win football matches is what we're all after, and we're all trying to achieve.
One of the things that ex-players of yours say about you is you're very honest with them. Barry Bannon, in particular, has spoken about that honesty at Crystal Palace that you had with him. He said he wasn't what you needed at the time. What do you see as his role at Sheffield Wednesday now?
No, I think Barry, most probably over the past 3 or 4 years, maybe longer than that, has been one of the outstanding players in the Championship. His ability to dictate and control games is first class. He's a good kid. I like Barry. Got a lot of time for him. At Palace, we had Balassi and Punchin as our wide players who were really, as I said this morning to the group, you know, that they were, it was different managing Palace than what it was managing Stoke. And the strengths we had at Palace was the pace wide and the ability wide. We worked very hard to get the balls out to them as quickly as possible. Barry wasn't in that at that time in that category, but everything he did at that football club, the time I was there, was professional, good worker in training, and a very, very well liked member of that group. Come here today, and you look at players in my first training session, and they look up to him. You know, there is certainly a respect that Barry has gained, and he hasn't gained that because of anything more than his ability to play with the ball.
I wanted to ask about your coaching staff as well. Are you hoping to bring others in, and how quickly might you be able to do that?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that over the next few days, Mike. Obviously, it was important that I get myself up here and have a look around and get myself settled. I want to get a place as quickly as possible. That's I need a base where I can go home and watch stuff and do stuff. And that base will be obviously close to the training ground. And once I'm bedded down, then you know we can look and bring in people that will hopefully help me and help the players prepare for games and prepare to win football matches at this level.
Just finally from me, you mentioned a couple of players picking up injuries over the international break. Are you able to say who they are at this point?
No, let's see how they are in the next couple of days.
Thanks very much, Tony. Good luck to you.
Cheers, Mike.
Hi, Tony. It's James from TalkSport. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, James. You okay?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Tony, what is it about football management which keeps you wanting to come back for more? It's your 11th managerial post. You've achieved so much in the game. Why take on a challenge like this now?
Like I say, it's a massive club. It's a club that I might be lucky, I might be unlucky. That I've been around people all my life who've either played for this football club, have been at the football club, supported the football club, and it's always been one of those clubs that everybody here or everybody outside have always talked of it so highly, and its potential and everything else. Over the period that I've been in professional football, I've seen great highs and obviously great lows at the football club. At the moment, it needs something to buck it up to get the results that everybody wants. And it was just one of those things that, you either want to do or you don't want to do. And it was as soon as the chairman rang me up and spoke to me, if we could sort it out, get it done, then yeah, I really fancied the challenge.
You've had a little bit of time away from the game since being at Borough. Do you feel like you needed that time to reinvest and to regain your energy resources to get yourself going for this challenge?
Yeah, I think it's always nice to have a break. I'd advise it to to anybody and everybody. And I'm very, very fortunate to be able to come into a club like Sheffield Wednesday. If you look at Poch, he's desperate to get back in. I'm sure he will one day. And when he does, nearly 20 years younger than me. He'll find that there's been such a benefit from having that time off. Obviously, it's been a little bit difficult for me because of my family and the grandchildren and us living down south. But I wanted to get in here and smell the roses really, and really find out what was going on here and what was happening and why such a big club with so much potential hasn't pushed on maybe as far as it should have.
You've never been relegated as a manager in your career. How much confidence does that give you heading into this challenge?
Yeah, James, nobody ever talks about I've been promoted out of every league and I've been to a cup final and the last stages of Europe and finished in the top 10 in the Premiership, and I've done this and I've done that and produced players. Give Gary O'Neill his debut at 16, who went on and had a fabulous career. Shawcross, when he was 17, got in my team at Stoke and has played 500. Nobody mentions all that. Always, you haven't been relegated. Come on, James, be positive for once.
one experience I want you to speak about and
Well,
see if it's
you moved off
relevant.
on that one, James.
Let's talk about Crystal Palace and what you were able to do there, because when you took over at Palace, it was a similar situation to where you are now at Sheffield Wednesday.
There was exactly the same situation at West Brom as well when I went to West Brom. So there's, you know, I went to Stoke initially, and Stoke was very similar. As people have forgot, you know, before I worked for the great Peter Coates, and he is, and the family, great people. I worked for the Icelandic consortium at Stoke, and had two years there before Peter took over. And Stoke were in a very similar position as this, James. What you do, you go in, you assess what you've got to assess, and then you make sure you try and find a way and a system to win football matches. And that's what we've got to do here. We've got to find a way that suits the players, where the players are comfortable, and that we play football that can win football matches.
At Stoke, you were able to make the Bet365, the Britannia, a fortress. How difficult is it going to be to make Hillsborough a fortress when there aren't fans there at the moment, and we're not sure when we will get fans back in stadiums?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, James. One of the reasons why I came was because I'd have a great association with people who had been at Sheffield Wednesday and had commented on the wonderful support this football club gets. And I can only talk as an opposing manager. And when we played Sheffield Wednesday, either at Hillsborough or when they came to play at our places, the support was always absolutely fantastic. They seemed a real hardened, fervent group of people. And, that was another reason. You look at it and you look at Stoke and places like that and working class areas. And if you give them something that they believe in, if you give them a little bit of air, then they'll get behind you. And that's what we have to do here, James. The unfortunate thing is, and it is unfortunate for this football club, is that obviously with COVID, we can't have people in the ground.
And just finally from me, Tony, just on Kieran Westwood, is he available for selection? Is he part of the squad? Is he able to be selected if you chose to bring him in?
I'm trying to get that sorted out now, James. I don't know whether we can, whether we can't, or whatever. So, that is a unfortunate question I can't answer at the moment, James.
Thanks for your time, Tony. Good luck.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. It's Tom Howson from Yorkshire Live. Welcome to Sheffield. When was it that you found out about Wednesday's interest in you?
Actually, I'm not sure, about 3 or 4 days after Gary left. Actually, I'd have to check. It obviously came from someone outside. It wasn't the chairman who rang me immediately, just to see if I'd be interested in speaking to the chairman. And that's what I did, Tom.
How close were you to becoming Wednesday's manager last year, when you also had talks with the club last year?
Yeah, that didn't suit me, and I don't think it suited the chairman at the time. I'd just come out of Borough. I promised Steve, again, who I get on very, very well. He's a wonderful man. For me, he was fantastic. After the 18 months at Borough, that was me finished. There was no, people say, your contract wasn't renewed or anything like that. Well, people don't know what me and Steve were talking about at the time, but I shook hands on an 18-month contract, and that's what I was going to do, was 18 months. Living away from my family and being so far away from home for that amount of time was difficult, John. So, yeah, it's been a good break for me. I'm hoping it'll refresh me. I hope it will give me the energy and the enthusiasm that's needed to push this club forward.
Have you had many offers to return to management over the past 18 months?
Yeah, and I wouldn't tell you, Don, because it's not fair on the people who are running those football clubs now.
but about this club, it sounds like there's just a lot of things that tick your box about this football club.
Yeah, there's a superstition and everything else. Like I say, I played for Don Megson. I made my debut for Don at Bristol Rovers in 75, 76 or whenever it was. And he always told me about Sheffield Wednesday. Always talked about Sheffield Wednesday. I can still remember him holding the ball on his left thigh, walking out as though he was walking out in front of Wembley with 100,000 people against Everton. Obviously, I know Gary really well. I knew Gary when he was a young lad, and got on smashing with Gary. He's, there's no bigger Sheffield Wednesday supporter than Meggy. And then big Sam Ellis, who I've worked with for years. Sam played in that cup final and was part of it. And then you go through the decades, and the people that I've met who've all said the same about the football club. What a great football club it is. What an unbelievable group of supporters there are here. It's so passionate and so committed to the football club. It was, it's one of those clubs, you sit down and you think, you're not going to get offered this type of job very, very often. And it's hopefully, Dom, it's a real challenge. Well, I'm sure it'll be a challenge. It will be a real positive outcome for everybody concerned.
I know it's very early days, but where do you think this? Where do you think this challenge ranks in your managerial career?
Well, you want to put the club, you want to point the club, you want to turn the club around a little bit and point it in the right direction. So that club then has got the basis. You've got to have a foundation. It has the basis to move on. And if I can do that, and as I've said, if I could take him in the Premier League and play Sheffield United in a derby match in the Premier League in front of a full house at Hillsborough, then that would be my dream, really. If someone said to me, "What are you trying to achieve?" I'd still like United to be in the Premiership, but I'd like us to be there beating them.
You've achieved so much in your career. Would this be the biggest achievement if you could get the club from the position that they're in now back into the Premier League after over 20 years that it's been out of the top flight? Yeah,
it'd be up there, Dom, with everything else I've achieved. Because of the size of the club, because of the potential of the club. If the club took off, you'd be getting 40,000 people here, and you'd get 40,000 very, very passionate supporters. And it'd be a special place to be. But talking about it and doing it, Dom, is two different things. And to achieve it, there's lots of things that have to happen, and lots of things that have to be put in place.
How important is it to you that you can turn around the home form? The team have struggled at Hillsborough this year.
Yeah, it's been surprising, really. I've only obviously looking at the club since the chairman offered me the job. Looking at the home form has been surprising, very, very surprising, because I always found Hillsborough a difficult place to come and play. But we have to turn it around. We have to make it more positive for the players. We have to make it more positive for the supporters. We have to make it more positive for everybody connected to the football club. Obviously, with the supporters not being able to go in there at the moment, that's difficult. I always felt that end of the ground where the supporters would, they're almost like 4 miles up in the air. They would suck balls in at times down in that corner. I'm just looking forward to getting moving. I hope, and I really do hope, that after Christmas or when the lockdown opens up, that the government will look at letting people back into stadiums.
In terms of your backroom staff, I mean, how many would you like to ideally bring in with you? Because right now, I mean, a lot of staff have gone, haven't they, in the last week or so?
Yeah, I'll have a look at, over the next couple of days and look at what we can do and what we can't do, and then I definitely will bring in some staff. I think that's important for me. Problem is, Don, most of my staff are older than me, and they're in wheelchairs now and walking around with walking sticks. Don't tell Jerry Francis or David Kemp that. They'll never speak to me again. But no, I've always had, and I've always wanted experienced people around me. I've always thought that having people who question you and challenge you is good. If I can bring those type of people with me, then brilliant. If I can't, then there's people I've worked with and I know who were just as challenging as the older group. I think coaching is a massive cross section of opinion, and it's nice to have people question what you're doing, and it's nice to have people question how you're doing stuff. And I think the great thing about my career was that I obviously passed my coaching badges when I was only very, very young. I was 21 years of age when I got my full license. One of the youngest coaches I think that's ever achieved it. And from that point onwards, I was always questioning the managers I was playing for, or the coaches I was working with. And now, when I got the job, when I was very, very young, the same thing was happening, and I wanted it to happen because I think it's healthy. So I do need people who are going to come in, Dom, and test me and push me and question what I'm doing.
There's been a bit of talk about maybe Craig Gardner. Is there a possibility there? With
Yeah,
Craig
I
Gardner?
always like to bring one young coach with me. I always like to bring a coach at the football club who's working on the academy side with me, Dom, and because I think it's important that I know, because I won't have a lot of time with the academy, but it's someone who knows the best players in the academy, knows how the academy is set up. I think the link between the first team and the academy is important. So, Neil has joined in today. Neil Thompson has joined in today and been part of that. Craig is someone I've got great respect for. He's a top quality character, young coach, enthusiastic. You ask him to do stuff and I'm sure he'll do it. And that's the way I am. I like to have a mixture of people around me. And you test them and they come back with stuff that actually tests you.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Cheers, Dom. Thank you.
You're right, Tony. Joe from the Star here.
Hi, Joe.
Just the first one. If you win against Preston this weekend, I believe it's your 100th win in the Championship. Would it be nice to get off with that kind of milestone?
Well, I didn't know that, Joe. Anyway, so yeah. Listen, the important thing is that I win for the football club, not for Tommy Pulis. I'm now part of the team, and the team is much bigger than what I am as an individual. I'm just part of this machinery, and for the machinery to work, we've all got to be concentrating on a togetherness, Joe, that gets you through different situations.
I want to ask you about sort of your Hillsborough memories. I know you've been there a couple of times as a manager. Did you ever play at Hillsborough in your playing days?
Yeah, I actually played here in the Cup for Bournemouth. I think we got beat 2-1 or 1-0 or whatever. Chapman was playing up front, that team. Was it Howard? It might have been Howard was manager.
And what did you think of the experience of playing at Hillsborough? How was it?
Well, we were. I was with Bournemouth at the time in the Championship with Harry. Harry was manager. Harry Redknapp was manager, and I think we came. There was a real good crowd, good atmosphere. It traditionally, it might, let's cut the nonsense and all. I was born in the 50s, so I've seen this club when it was in its prime, twice in my time. It's been up there. And the support and the club itself has always been very, very. When you look at it, you think, well, that's exceptional. And they've been very patient with supporters. They've been very, very good, and they just want some success. Like I say, they want someone to breathe some air into it, and then to have a real good ride. And it's been, I think the chairman has been a little bit unfortunate that they didn't get promoted in the first 2 years. And then the third year, and obviously is it the fourth year now that 5th year he's been here. You know, there's been a little bit of a decline. Hopefully we can turn that round now. You know, he's as enthusiastic. You know, I've spoken to him a couple of times. He's as enthusiastic as anyone I've met for the football club, and he's desperate for it to do well and succeed. And hopefully we can point him in the right direction and give him something back. You know, you can't keep expecting to be given stuff and to be given stuff. And, you know, the fella wants and needs to have something back as well, Joe.
Yeah, you said sort of the conversation you'd had with the chairman. I know that you've spoken about the sort of reasons for taking the job. What was there anything in particular that the chairman said that you thought, you know, this is definitely something I want to be involved in?
Well, I think the fact that he's still here after 5 years, and the fact that he spent, was it 300, 400, 500 million pounds? I don't think he needs to explain anything to me. You know, that it's there for everybody to see. I think that the amazing thing is that he's still that enthusiastic and still that keen to be successful. And if I can help, and I hope to God I can help, to push this club to where he wants to take it, then yeah, it'd be great for me. It'd be great for the chairman, and it'd be absolutely fantastic and wonderful for the city and for this side of the city as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to ask, you know, formation-wise, as a manager, when you come into a club, do you have a sort of preferred formation that you want to try and play, or do you very much just look at who's available and see what is best suited to them rather?
Eventually, I'd like to get to the system I'd like to play. But I think initially you have to go with what players you've got. And you have to rely on the players, and you have to give them the responsibility. As I've said, you know, many, many times, and I think sometimes managers and coaches get too much praise and too much criticism. You know, the players earn extraordinary good money today to go out there and play and compete. And I think the clubs I've been at, mostly working class areas, if their team goes out there and gives it their damnedest week in, week out, and they give everything, the shirt they're wearing, I think the majority of supporters will have that. I think what they won't have is a team of players who go out there and look as though they're just going through the motions. And I don't think this team has. I don't think there's been a couple of occasions of people told me that maybe might have, the supporters might have questioned. But hope to God now for when I pick the baton up, and I've picked it up, that we always put in a shift, you know, to say to the supporters we care, and you know, we want to do the best we possibly can in the shirt we wear.
You spoke very highly of Barry Bannon, his levels of professionalism and stuff. He was obviously made captain at the start of the season. Is that something that's going to continue? Are you sort of going to think about changing the captaincy, or?
Yeah, I was going to talk to Barry today, and unfortunately knocked the door when I had all the sports science and medical people in my room. So I'll speak to him tomorrow, and I think it's best, Joe, that I speak to him first before I tell anyone else. So you don't mind. Yeah,
no, that's no worries. And just lastly, you spoke about your time at Borough and the 18 months you sort of agreed upon was going to be the case. How long do you see this project at Wednesday? I know, obviously, managers' jobs are.
Well, I've got through my first day, mate. Still here.
So, in terms of the contract length, I presume it's that's not something you can tell us.
I think what I would like more than anything at this present moment is to try and get the chairman back to England. Obviously, it's very difficult at the moment with the present situation, and I understand it. And he's got to look after his whole family, not just himself. I think if it was just himself, he'd be over here anyway. But he's got to look after and protect his whole family, and we are in testing times. It's just to get over it, you know, and sit with him, and I'd love to know his background. You know, everybody's talking about me. I'd love to find out what his background is and his family and the makeup of his life and what sort of life he's had, and how he's become so successful. And you know, in you know, every person you speak to, you know, it's a different book that a person could write about themselves and about their lives, and it's ever so interesting. And you know, I've got to a stage where, you know, I enjoy reading more than I've ever enjoyed reading in my life. I actually, you know, look at things differently in respect of respect for people, whereas maybe as a younger person, I was a lot more bullish and single-minded and straightforward. So I've opened myself up to, to change. I've opened myself up to new ideas. I've opened myself up to opinions, whereas maybe at the beginning I was very, very single-minded and abrupt, put it lightly. So, I've grown. And as I've said, I'd love to, speak to the chairman about, his background, his life and everything else, and try and get a feeling for what makeup, what makeup he has. That the clubs I've been successful at have been the clubs that I've had really good relationships with chairman, and the clubs I've enjoyed most. Whether it was the borough, Steve has rung me. I've had a good chat with Steve. Peter Coates, I've got to ring. Peter's been on the phone. I've got to ring Peter back, speak to him. My old chairman at Bournemouth, Norman Haywood. The chairman at Bristol City now is just a wonderful man. People forget I was at Bristol City. I wasn't there very long, mind, but I was there, and Steve was there, and Steve Lansdowne is a wonderful man as well. I've made good relationships and built up strong relationships with certain chairmen, and they've accepted me, I think, for what I am, and I've accepted them for what they are. And if I can get this relationship going with the chairman, and we can have a little bit of understanding, I'm sure it will help us collectively. And I think he's desperate to do the same, to actually get my views and everything else.
Perfect. Thanks so much for your time. All the best for the weekend.
Joe. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. It's Alex Miller, also from the Sheffield Star. Good to meet you, albeit virtually.
Hi, Alex.
I just wanted to ask you, you've mentioned it a couple of times already about this being pigeonholed as a certain manager, and people going on about achieving certain things and not others. How difficult is that, and how difficult is it to sort of change opinions and your image maybe among some people?
I've given up, Alex. You buggers have worn me down.
It's not as yet.
No, I don't give a damn, mate. I've been in the game a long time. I've taken some punches, and you get up off the ground, you get on with it, and you become very, very. You understand the way the world is, and it's a different world now than when I started a million years ago. And I accept it for what it is. I don't agree with everything. I think social media can be positive, but there's massive negatives with that as well. And we've got to be very, very careful with that over the next few years. And that's not just football; that's in life in general. I think there's a real concern. I have a real concern for my children, my grandchildren especially, that it takes over your life, and there's got to be a lot of scrutiny, I think, over the next years on that. But that's the world we live in. I have to accept it, and I have to get on with it, and I have to live with it. My daughters, most probably, and my son wouldn't agree with what I've just said, because they're part of that culture. But as an old fogey, then that's my view.
Talked about the backroom staff that you got. Obviously, you've already said that you'd like to bring some in. What's the future for some of the guys that are currently at the club? How do you see, for example, Tony Strudwick, and you've already mentioned Neil Thompson?
No, I've got, I haven't met Tom yet because he's away with the Welsh squad. So I'll meet him. He comes back in midweek, so I've a good chat with him. I've had the medical people in today. I've had the sports science people in today. I've told them how I feel about certain things, especially soft tissue injuries. I think soft tissue injuries, you'll speak to Mark Gillette, and, I had a Brian English at my other clubs, and they'll tell you what I'm like with soft injuries. I think it's almost like a disaster when it happens for me. I think that we should, they're avoidable injuries. If someone has an ankle injury, knee injury, shoulder, whatever, then that happens. I can accept that. But muscular injuries, I think with what we do now and the knowledge that we have, and the facilities that we have and the people we have working at football clubs, soft tissue injuries, we've got to try and stop that. And obviously at the football club, we've been a little bit unfortunate over the last couple of weeks that we've picked up quite a few of these injuries, and that has to stop. We can't afford. This is a season where a lot of games come up in short periods of times, and we've got to do better than what we're doing in respect of maybe protecting the players and looking after the players. But they everything I've said today has been very positive. I found them really, really interesting. The doc and his side, and the sports science side. They're good people.
There's two coaches rather, that have obviously been on the playing staff at Wednesday that have been sort of up to the first team and then down with the academy. Have you spoken much to Nicky Weaver and Lee Bullen yet? I saw that Nicky was with the first team today.
Yeah, Nicky was with the first team today. Let me just say this: I wasn't too keen seeing Nicky Weaver, having played in the '99 against Man City playoff final, and him saving those penalties. And that's what I said to him: Nicky, don't talk to me, mate. I still haven't forgotten. No, he's a good lad, and he came out and took the goalkeepers today. I'll assess it as we go along, but I certainly want to bring my own. I want to bring my own staff in if I possibly can.
Okay. Just lastly from me, you've already spoken about Barry Bannon. I gather that you had Aidan Flint at Borough. How much contact have you had with the other players previously at different times? Is there anyone else?
No, I know him from watching him, from playing against him, and there's players there that I know better than others. I got a few names mixed up today, but that's going to happen, and I apologised. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to get into their ribs as much as possible to find out what they're made of, what they're not made of. As I've said, I think most people know that. For one thing, I like to have winners. I like to have people who want to run and can run. I like to have people who go out there to play a football match to win, not just play a football match, but go out and play a football match to win. And I think there's an edge that you need, and that comes and has to come from within the group. It's no good me talking about it. It's no good you saying it. It's no good anybody else on the terraces saying it. You have to have that in the group. That then spurts out and gives you the results that you certainly need.
Cheers, Tony. I'll see you Saturday.
Cheers, Alex. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. It's Nancy here from The Athletic.
Hi, Nancy.
You're right.
You okay?
Just wondered, how kind of useful is it for the way you like to work that you can contact the chairman, you've got a direct line to him without maybe having to go via a director of football or the other names of jobs that.
I haven't got his number. I haven't got his number yet, Nancy. So I'm going to ask him as soon as you've finished talking. Now that you've brought that point up, I'll make sure I get his number. Chairman, it's Nancy's fault.
Yeah, sorry for that. You spoke a bit about your family, and I just wondered, did you have to do any convincing, maybe to tell them that you wanted to get back into management again?
She had my bags packed about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. I think she's glad to get rid of me. I'm tearing the house up and down. No, it's the life I've led, Nancy. It's been wherever I've lived, I've always kept my home down on the south coast. I've been down there, like I say, since 1986. And the children have gone to school there. They've grown up, 3 of them. My son obviously is with Miami, with Beckham's. He coaches with Beckham's team out there and has been successful. 2 grandchildren, and my daughters are close to Deb. So, she's got a lot of stuff going. We've got 7 grandchildren, so she's got a lot of stuff going on, Nancy, to keep her busy. So, I think what am I, 3 to 10? I'm 11th in line anyway, Nancy. The children come before me. Now the grandchildren go before the children. So I'm 10th in line anyway. So, it's not a great miss, I don't think.
That's all right. I was just wondering, maybe you spoke about having to adapt a bit during your career. is there anything that you've noticed that players need or respond to better now than maybe when you started out, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to kiss and cuddle them a little bit more than what you used to. I think years ago, I think there was a lot more, they were much more resilient. They were much more forthright in their opinions and their views, and much more resilient in criticism. I think today they're not as forceful in their views as what they used to be, and they're not as resilient in respect of criticism. And that, you know, that's just the way the world has been, and you have to understand that, and you have to grow into you know, the society that you work in, and you have to respect that. You know, the world's spun round so many times, Nancy, since I started, that you know, you just stay on there and not fall off it. You have to move with society.
And is there, I mean, you said earlier about kind of needed to bring in people that will challenge you. Is that something that you'd welcome, you know, that sort of presence in the dressing room where the players are accountable and maybe hold each other accountable?
Yeah, I've listen. I think there's, you know, at times when what, you know, you need one singer and one song, and if I feel that's the case, then I certainly make my point. But I also think there's occasions where, you know, you open it up, or players will come forward with, or coaches will come forward with questions to you on certain things, and I think that's really stimulating. That's good. Yeah. And again, you know, it's never ever been a problem for me in that respect. You know, the hopefully the respect that I give them, you get that back, and by being as honest as obviously Barry's just said, as honest as you possibly can towards them.
I think that's it for me. You've been grilled long enough.
Cheers, Nancy. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hi, Tony. It's Stuart from the Yorkshire Post.
Stuart.
Hiya. Just a quick one. You're obviously coming in during an international break, so you haven't got all the players available. How much of the work that you want to do are you actually going to be able to get done this week ahead of the Preston game?
Well, I spoke to Steve Clark. When was it? Sunday, about the two lads who were away. Had a good chat with him. Obviously, that goes against us for Preston because they're flying out to Israel. They won't get back till the early hours of the morning on Thursday, I don't think. And that's again a bit of a blow for us. But he was very complimentary about the two of them. They'd worked hard, trained well, and were good members of that group. They'll both be desperate to play well for Wednesday, because now they've got the opportunity of going to the Euros with Scotland, which is wonderful for Scotland. And I've made loads of phone calls to loads of people about the players who are at the football club, players I don't know, players I haven't worked with, to find out their characters, really, the characteristics. And I think that was part, you know, that's part of me being who I am. I like to find out as much as I possibly can about the characters. You know, obviously ability-wise is important, but I like to have good characters in the dressing room.
And you have to sort of go on fast forward a bit this first week, maybe not so much in terms of on the training pitches, but in terms of just getting those messages into players about what their roles and responsibilities are.
Oh, I think that we'll listen, Stuart. I've talked about the fella across the way who's been there 5 or 6 years, and it's taken him 5 or 6 years to get where they are. You know, it's a difficult. This profession is very difficult. When I first went in, I think most chairmen would say they give you 3 years. 1 year to assess what you're walking into. The second year to change what you think is needed to be successful. And the third year was the big decision year. If you were successful, brilliant. But if you weren't, you were on your bike. And that time period has gradually got less and less and less and less. And some of the periods of times that managers get now is just absolutely ridiculous. There's no way in a million years they can affect a football club or affect the team. But I understand that, as I said before, Stuart, we're in a world where, you know, now it's press a button and everything lights up. years ago, that wouldn't happen. You could sit on your chair and turn the telly on and turn it over and without even moving. You could sit on the chair all night and you turn the lights off, turn them on, turn the television on, turn it off. 100 channels and this, that, and the other. No, it's a different world, Stuart. But yeah, I'm looking forward to really getting my teeth into it. I want them to be competitive. I want them to really play with a passion and a desire. To put an identity on this team, to put an identity on the football club, takes a bit of time.
And you talk about being in a different world. I suppose with whenever you've started a previous job, you wouldn't have known where you were going, but you'd have been out seeing lots of games. You'd have probably been very familiar with it. I know you've done some media work, but how different is it coming in COVID time? How many games have you been able to get to?
I've watched most of the games on TV. I've done a few games live for 5 Live and enjoyed them in respect of the games. I think without the crowds there, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I think it's soulless. I think the crowds make this country and the football in this country what it is. It's very, very traditional. I don't care what anybody says. I think that we are and have the best leagues in the world. We have the most competitive leagues in the world. And it's because whether you go, I don't know, to Newport County and get 5,000 there, or whether you go to Old Trafford and get 72,000 there, those people are passionate people for their football club. And that passion is so big a part of our game. And it's a bit soulless at the moment because they're not there. Can't do nothing about it, but it is.
So I suppose in a way the challenge for you is that when the gates do open, whenever that is, there's a positive mood about the place and they're coming in from that sort of starting point rather than a sort of more neutral one.
Well, I think once they open the gates, fingers crossed, they'll come in positive anyway. And we hope that, whatever situation, that they find their club in. These people have been here for, I'm just a custodian of Sheffield Wednesday. I've just come in. There's people here who've been supporting the club for 90 odd years, 100 years or whatever, all the way down. And they've got Wednesday in their blood. They're as I've talked about Sam Ellis and, Don Megson, Gary Megson, and people of that ilk. I've had loads of phone calls coming up last night from people I didn't even know were Sheffield Wednesday supporters who, have actually opened up and said they are. It's lovely, and that these people really, really, care so much for the football club that it's important that as now being, the manager of the club, you want to understand, and I think I do, having been in it so long, how important it is that they see the team having a go and doing the best they possibly can.
Do you think when you come into a new club, it is important to have that understanding of a fan base, or is it just a case of football's football?
I think the biggest, listen, Stuart, you can play a game of football on a Saturday. We could go down and have a game of football on a Saturday and enjoy the game of football. And I'll say to you now, I've been down the park with my grandchildren over the past year or whatever. And when football's been on, I've stood on the sideline and watched the game of football because I enjoy football. Stuff like that, and that's what supporters, they want to go to football because they enjoy football. They love your team winning and they want your team to win and they're passionate about that team winning. And the difference between, as I said to the players today, the difference between playing football and playing winning football is massive. And they've got to understand and recognise that, we've got to play a way in which is entertaining, but also winning games. And when I say entertaining, that is getting crosses into the box, getting shots off, and being really, really, really positive with our play.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Tony. Good luck with it.
Cheers, Stuart.
Good afternoon, Tony. It's Oscar Paul at The Sun. How are you doing?
Oscar, how are you, mate?
Very well. Thank you, Tony. Just one from me. It's just to clarify something, really. Is your contract until the end of the season?
What's the name? That is between me and the chairman and no one else at this present moment, Oscar. And
okay.
I was just going to say, the beams behind you, how old is that house you're in?
Sorry, say that again.
At the beams. I'm looking at the beams
Oh
behind
yeah,
you.
nice, isn't it? Yes, my
How
parents'
old
house.
is it?
Sorry.
How old is the house?
About 450 years old, I think, Tony.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, it's like farmhouse in Suffolk. I'm staying with my folks at the moment.
Oh, are you? Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. We've got beams similar to that back home down in Poole. But
fireplace.
Well, very similar. But our house is 1936, I think.
Ah, okay.
It don't go back as long as yours.
Anyway. Is there any reason why you're not able to divulge that information?
No, it's. Do you want me to tell you how much I'm earning as well? You
No,
know,
just
it's what's the name? It's, you know, when I was at Middlesbrough, no one knew that I'd shook hands on an 18-month contract. When I was at Stoke, nobody knew I'd got a rolling contract. Nobody knew what I was doing. It's just it's between me and the chairman, me and the football club. Yeah. So don't be so busy.
No, that's fine. All right, all the best, Tony. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Oscar. Bye, mate. Bye.
Hi, Tony. Simon Burr from the Mirror. The architecture is a bit more disappointing in this house. Can I just ask, you've succeeded Gary Monk twice now. Is that just a coincidence, or do you just like clearing up his mess?
I'll let you know in a couple of months' time, Simon. No, it's one of them. I've got a job to do at this football club. You know what Gary did or what he didn't do was, that was down to him. I walked straight in, and I need to get the team winning. That's the most important thing. I think at Borough, it was a different situation. I think it sounds as though you're a North East lad, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you know the story at Borough. I think we had to really. And Steve was fabulous with it, but we had to sell players. We had to really look after the finances. You have a chairman there, very similar to the chairman here, who'd spent a hell of a lot of money on a group of players, and to a point where it was really sad to see that that his dream again had been set back a few years, and we really had to work hard. And for 18 months, I think Steve will be the first one to tell you, the priority was to be as successful as we possibly could at the football club on the pitch, but to actually readdress the financial situation.
Well, good luck. I hope we get more money to spend at Sheffield anyway.
Cheers, Simon.
Hello, Tony. It's Matt Barlow at the Mail.
Matt, how are you, mate?
Hello, I'm all right, thank you. I might be the last one, but just a quick one. That's all.
I don't think you are. I think there's another 4 or 5, Matt, so you're okay.
All right. Okay. I wanted to know if sort of retirement had ever really crossed your mind after Middlesbrough, whether you thought that was it was time to put your feet up, and what have you been doing for the last month aside from a bit of babysitting and a bit of media work? Is there something that you've managed to achieve that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I'd had a good time out actually. Like I say, being at the Borough and living in Poole, Matt, was difficult in respect of the commuting. Stoke was bad enough, but Middlesbrough was difficult. And Steve was fabulous with me in lots of ways. I promised myself that I wanted to go and see and do stuff. I went to South Africa for a month with Deb, and I went and seen the battlefields, which was, I love my history. I went over to Rorke's Drift, spent some time there. We went to different parts of South Africa. It's a country that I've always dreamt of going to. And I was absolutely amazed that Debbie enjoyed it almost as much as me. Cape Town was wonderful. We stayed just outside of Durban. We did all the stuff that you normally do. And then I went off on these jaunts, left Deb down, at the hotel and by the beach, and I just went off and 4-hour drive into the wilderness to see where that battle took place. I went to California, went to Florida. I did, I think you most probably know, with Napoleon, I went to Corsica, celebrated his 250th year, had a weekend there, looking at all the marches and the celebrations, big church ceremony as well, looking at people from all over Europe and French Canadians coming over dressed as Napoleonic soldiers, camping like Napoleonic soldiers out on the coastline. You know, it was just fascinating. I'd heard about it and was lucky. Is it Le Monde, Matt, the French paper, sports paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, they invited me out there, and I did a big article on that. And I've also, you know, done bits and pieces on other things. Like I say, reading. I've read loads of books, and Shackleton has really, really interested me. I don't think Deb will ever let me go where he ventured, but it was fascinating to read his own biography and then read someone else's story of that wonderful trip. Well, wonderful trip. They brought them all back. It was just unbelievable how you know, the position that they found themselves in and how they got out of that position over, what was it, 17 months in the wilderness. And how it's just, the story is just extraordinary. And, you know, other books as well. I don't like fiction. I like reading proper history. And yeah, it's been good, Matt. It's been a nice break for me.